Hey everybody, just wanted to send out a little extra video to donors and prayers, and just as a thank you, and just to give you a little inside scoop on what's going on, what happened on this trip in Poland. You should have gotten a newsletter, of course, but I always want to add a little extra for those of you who are adding extra for me, giving and praying. So thank you so much. It was a really fruitful trip. I would say fruitful and scattered a little bit, like broad all over. We were in a lot of different areas of Poland. If you look at the map, we were north, south, east, and west, really, and traveling a lot, but also because it was a long trip, it's some places I stayed several days in one place. So it was a time to be able to actually kind of go down deep with some people as well. So you can always get some information on the website, markmedley.org, if you ever want to. So I just want to give you a little view into some of the things that we do with our leaders. This is Kuba and Anya Sava. They are in a city called Gniezno. Gniezno is the oldest city in Poland, actually. City of maybe 70,000 people. Maybe it has 6 relatively small evangelical churches, so great need there. But Kuba is the senior pastor, the founding pastor here of this church. This is their 2 children as well, and I was able to stay with them. The great thing that that I get to be a part of a lot of times is this ability to stay in people's homes and be with them for several days. And I was with them for maybe 4 days, I think. We talked, I think in a newsletter I spoke or wrote about this 2 different types of impact that I can have, and the people that travel with me, and the Thrive partners there that travel with me in different nations. The different impacts that we have. Part of it's pulpit time, which is, of course, being in a teaching situation with larger groups of people. And then there's table time, eating with people, being in their homes, just really sharing life with them. And so Kuba is transitioning his church into another generation of leadership. And so I've been working with him a couple of years on training leaders there and on working on this transition. And also there was another pastor that came from another city that traveled to Kuba's house, and we spent a day talking about something very similar, a very similar type of situation where there were a generational transfer of leadership. So also one of the perks is being able to actually kind of live real life with people, and this is a graduation of one of Kuba's children from one grade of elementary school to the next. And so kind of interesting to be able to be a part of that and just really live life with them. This is also part of life in Europe. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's this game called football. We know it as soccer, but it's actually football, and it's pretty popular all over the world. Not so much here, but there was a huge tournament going on called the Euros, all the European national teams playing one another. And so this is me with Kuba's son Daniel, and we're at the church actually as a watch party at the church watching Poland in the Euros, and they are unfortunately about equally talented as the United States soccer team, and so they also got eliminated in the group stage, just like we did from the Copa America, but we commiserated. But it's just part of hanging with the saints there, so that's really great. This is Janusz and his wife Ella, and Janusz is the father of one of the girls who's part of our songwriting community, Sylvia. Sylvia, you've seen her if you watched some of those videos of the songs that I've been sending links to. And Sylvia is a keyboard player. And she sings on some of the songs, and she helps write some of the songs, and just a really good friend. And Janusz, her dad, started this church just outside of Warsaw. He planted the church when he was 61 years old. I think he's 67 now. So just an encouragement to those of us who are a little older. You can start things when you're older, okay? And it's great. And I got to minister in the church. It's a small church, like most churches in Poland. Small church, but you can see this is part of the congregation there, and I was able to minister there, but also to eat with them, stay overnight with them, And also, Janusz is a beekeeper. And so I was able to work with the bees a little bit with him. It's the first time I've ever gotten this close to this many bees without being stung. And thank God they were pretty docile that day. But the honey was really, okay, I'll say it was really sweet. It was like a sweet perk of being able to be there. It was actually really, really great. And then we went from there to the songwriting camp, the Piesnio Pasarja camp. And so this is the same place we were last year. Gathered together, we went so deep into Colossians, and it was so beautiful to see what happened there because of the work of the gospel in these people's hearts. They wrote, again, about 24 songs in 4 days and played them for each other. We kind of consulted on the songs as well. And some of them you will probably see later on this year or next year as videos being released. But the songs were really, really different this year. They were like, there was another level of application of truth and of the gospel to real life situations. There were songs about forgiveness, songs about hope when a loved one dies, songs about the sovereignty of God, about the beauty of what Christ has done in the gospel, about, there was one that was a lullaby, beautiful little lullaby from Psalm 139. And so just all kinds of great things. But what was beautiful is I taught, there was 8 sessions, teaching sessions. And then in the evenings, there was times for them to be able to say what has been going on in their lives, because Paul says in Colossians 1, the gospel's come to you and is bearing fruit and increasing even as it is in all the world. And so the question was, how has the gospel been bearing fruit in your life in the last 18 months that we've been together? And they shared these stories, and the tears were flowing. It was absolutely beautiful what God has done and is doing in the hearts of these people, and it's reflected in these songs too. I think I have a little video of a part of the worship time here. It's a beautiful little song, kind of a Polish hymn. And I have another video of them doing some of the songwriting actually in groups together. You can see a little bit of that. Out under an apple tree. Yeah, so it was great. It was really, really a beautiful time. And at the end of that time, after coming back to Warsaw and doing some ministry, after being in Warsaw, being in Western Poland, and being at the camp, I got to be alone for a few days, sort of alone, at a little retreat center. And this is a little agritourism place that they have there. It's basically like an Airbnb on some acres of land, very remote place, and they call it agrotourism, and they keep the land very much like it's supposed to be. So they farm it, and they let things grow, and there's a certain way, if you're going to be agrotourism, you have to keep the land kind of in its natural state. So, and this is the couple that we're running it. This is actually Agnieszka, who is one of the songwriting community as well, and her husband Marek, who run this place. It's called Modryganek, which means blue porch. And Modryganek is absolutely beautiful. And I was able to have a little personal retreat there, but also able to do some writing, because I am writing another book and this is a book that's kind of been in the works for a little while, but it's a devotional, and it's kind of 3 books in one. It's kind of a trilogy. It's 30 days with the Father, 30 days with the Son, 30 days with the Spirit. And so it's a 90-day devotional. And I'm hoping to have it finished and published before the end of this year. So I was able to do some writing on that, and also some kind of personal time with the Lord, which was very needed. Okay, then we went back to Warsaw, and after a day or so, we went south to a city called Ustron. Ustron is where my publisher is, the Polish publisher that's working with me on getting the grief book translated. Talk to you about that in a second. But first, we're here with one of our friends who's a coffee roaster. So maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but Pieśnio Pisarze songwriters actually have a brand of coffee. So it's actually songwriter coffee. And so what we're doing is we are testing a bunch of different kinds of espresso to pick the blend of espresso that we want to have as a Pieśnio Pisarze espresso. And we also are picking a single origin for a drip coffee. So this is a little bit of coffee time, and those of you know me know I love coffee. So this was great. And then we met with our Polish publisher here. This is Grzegorz, and Grzegorz runs the largest evangelical publishing company in Poland. It's called Sharon, and Sharon is publishing Walking Through Grief in both Polish and in Ukrainian. So this is a kind of a labor of love, and really, in one sense, I think it's part of that legacy, the legacy of Melissa. And I think maybe I'll send out another video or newsletter in the next month or so and talk about Melissa's legacy, because what's happening through the Melissa movement with resourcing people who are women who are training another generation of women in many parts of the world, and also in the States here, is really beautiful. And also what's happening with Walking Through Grief is really beautiful. I have opportunities for translation not only in Ukrainian and Polish, but also possibility in Russian, in Hindi, and in Spanish. We're praying about that. It's of course going to take some money, but you could pray for that too as well. It's all part of Melissa's legacy. And then something's happening with the possibility of a grief tour throughout major cities in Poland, a grief tour, a Walking Through Grief or a lamenting tour. And basically it's going to be the material of my book that's set into a program that's going to be spoken word and music, and Mateo and his friend Joachim are writing songs that go along with these chapters in my book, that go along with the different milestones of lament in Scripture. And probably there may be also dance involved, and I will be also involved in doing a dialogue with the audience, answering questions and those kind of things, talking about how to handle grief in a healthy way from a biblical perspective. This has been in the works for a little while, but it's not 100% sure, but it's about 85-90% sure right now, because we spoke with an agent and we spoke with some of the players who would be a part of this thing, and they're willing to do it. So perhaps after the books are translated this year, next year, early next year, during Lent season, we may be doing a multi-city tour of Walking Through Grief. So if you please pray for that. Right now I'm in the process of writing the narration for that based on my book. And it's a big step, but it's also another part of the legacy of Melissa. So this is a man named Darek, and Darek is a voice actor. He actually runs a community. It's actually a national Polish literature theater. And so this is a traveling theater that does theatrical presentations of classic Polish literature. And he is the voice actor that has agreed to be a part of this new Walking Through Grief tour, or whatever it's going to be called. So please pray for that. as we were down there, and maybe some of you know because I called the prayer team at my church to pray, but I contracted vertigo somehow in the middle of this trip, and it was really pretty serious at times. It was intense and hard to even stand up and walk at times. And when I was walking, very dizzy, wobbly, kind of half drunk. This was not very easy, but part of that was going on while I was traveling through these windy roads of South Poland. Beautiful area, but no straight roads and a lot of hills. But we were part of this Catholic festival called Strefa Fawa. Strefa Fawa means glory zone. It's a maybe 25-year-old festival. It used to be just an arts festival, Christian arts festival, and it became more. It was taken over more by Catholic priests, and now it's predominantly Catholic. People who go there are Catholic. They come and they camp out for an entire week, and they have it's focused on arts, but also just teaching through the faith. Well, Mateo and I were invited to go there and to speak. And the beautiful thing is there were many of our songs, the songwriting community songs that have been published just since November that they were singing. They had them in their book, in their liturgy book there, singing these songs that we've been putting out. It's beautiful. These songs are all over Poland, and they're being sung by congregations and house churches and Catholics and Protestants, and it's really a beautiful thing to see. And this is Father Andrew, the priest that interviewed us. We did a panel discussion on what is worship and songwriting. So the behind the scenes thing is I had vertigo during this whole time, and I was standing in the tent getting ready to go on, and I was just wobbling and I couldn't walk straight. I was trying my best not to look like a drunk. I would like to represent well, represent Jesus well and evangelicals well and myself well. And so my first prayer is, God, just let me make it up the steps and across the stage, and let me be able to sit down. And the second prayer was, God, just don't let me say anything stupid. And he answered both of those prayers. And it ended up being a very rich time talking about true worship, worshiping the Father in spirit and truth, and songwriting. And it was great. It was a joy to be a part of that. And then the last week of my time there, I was with our partners there in Poznań, Western Poland, and that's Bartek and Daria. And many of you know them. They're pastoring this Amazing Grace Church. They're discipling people. They're doing a lot of work there. This is the new church building. I just want to give you a couple of pictures here. This is the inside. They were meeting at a school, and so they were setting up, tearing down every week. And it was a school setting. It was pictures of Smurfs on the wall and things like that. It just wasn't very much of a home for them. So now they're in this building, which is in like a house. It looks like a house somewhat in a residential area. So they're here in the middle of this area, being able to reach into a community there. So they're doing well, and they also greet everyone. So if you know Bartek and Daria, they say hi to you. And the last thing I'll show you here is that this is the green book that some of you are familiar with, called Gospel-Centered Life. And it's just a devotion. Well, it's like several lessons, maybe 9 lessons of how to apply practically the gospel and the work of Jesus in our lives every day. Well, we've been a part of being able, through Sharon, through Mateo, and by your help as well, to be able to translate this into Polish. And not only this one, but also another book called Gospel-Centered Community is being translated right now. Also, there's a book by Jerry Bridges called Gospel for Real Life being translated right now into Polish. All of these are being used to disciple this songwriting community in the gospel, but also they're going to be available for the wider church in Poland. And also Bartek and Daria are using this book to be able to disciple people in their church. So it's great. It's great because we're able, kind of unexpectedly to me, we're able to be partners with translating these different types of discipleship materials into many languages. And that is all thanks to God and thanks to you. You guys are praying and you guys giving are as much a part of this as I am. And I just want to always let you know that I'm grateful. Always let you know that what you're doing is fruitful, and always let you know that you're loved. So I'll stay in touch with you. God bless.